So look at Anthony Ryder from South Lyon, Michigan, recently selected as the Lions 2020 Fan of the Year. He has a passion about sports broadcasting.
With the 112th selection in the 2021 NFL Draft, the Detroit Lions select Amon-Ra St. Brown, wide receiver, USC. One pride, baby! Yeah!
What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another Detroit Lions video. Now, the other day, we did a news and rumors video talking about DeAndre Hopkins, talking about the new kickers, talking about a lot of different things surrounding the Detroit Lions organization. And over the last couple of days, more news and rumors have surfaced. News about the Detroit Lions players on the roster and things that we could expect from them this season, as well as potential rumors of players that may be signed and added to this Detroit Lions roster to improve their success in 2023. So today I wanted to take a look at the newest batch of news and rumors, kind of break it down and give you guys everything going on surrounding this Detroit Lions team. So in today's video, we are going to be taking a look at these news and rumors. First off, Alim McNeil has dropped a significant amount of weight and body fat and is expected to make a positional move on the defensive line. Jahmyr Gibbs, the first-round pick of the Detroit Lions, is expected to potentially be in contention for a special teams role on the Detroit Lions from day one, as well as the Detroit Lions potentially looking for a new pass rusher and potentially looking to add some pass rush on the defensive line. So with that being said, let's start off with Jahmyr Gibbs, a first-round pick of the Detroit Lions from the University of Alabama. Jahmyr Gibbs is expected to be a kick returner for the Detroit Lions on top of being a running back and a wide receiving threat, right? Jahmyr Gibbs did everything in college. He was a receiver, he was a running back, he was a kick returner, he was a punt returner. He did every single role imaginable to get the football in his hands and get him into open space. And that includes being a kickoff specialist both at Alabama and at Georgia Tech. Now, he was pretty good at that role, having 44 returns off the kickoff for 1,052 yards and a single returned touchdown. He is, again, a dynamic athlete. He is really good in the open space. And any way you can get this guy touches, any way you can get the football into Jahmyr Gibbs' hands is going to be a recipe for success, right? He's a big play threat waiting to happen. He is very fluid when he is running. He changes directions on a dime. He has 4.3 speed. So putting him on the kick return is not a poor idea, right? The Detroit Lions have used, I would say, non-starter players over the last couple of years to be the kick and punt returners, right? Khalif Raymond has been the primary kick and punt returner and has really flourished into more of a wide receiver role on top of that, but originally started as just a kick and punt returner. And then in 2021, they had Noah Igbenogany, who did have a receiving role out of the running back position, but was primarily the kick and punt returner. The Lions haven't used premier assets, and most teams don't put premier players at the kick and punt returner positions, but the Lions have been known to do some things that are unorthodox, right? They were going to put first-round pick Jameson Williams as a gunner in his first career game to get him caught up to NFL speed, right? They've used some top picks in some unorthodox ways, in ways that a lot of teams don't use their star players, but Jahmyr Gibbs taking kickoff returns does make a good amount of sense, right? He is built like a really, really good kick returner. If you can add that next level of explosiveness and even improve upon what Khalif Raymond gave you a season ago, right? Have Khalif at the kick or have Khalif at the punt returning position being just primarily that punt return guy, which he's really, really good at, and then have Jahmyr Gibbs be the kickoff guy with a little bit more juice, a little bit more speed, and a little bit more of explosion. That could be a really good return duo on top of Jahmyr Gibbs obviously getting touches in the rushing attack and the passing attack. Now, this is just a rumor. I think it's something the Lions are going to experiment with in the preseason. We don't know for sure if it's going to happen, but it is something to monitor as a way to get your first round pick even more involved in the game early. Now, Getting on to Alim McNeil, news came out today that this offseason, Alim McNeil has cut 13% of his body fat from last offseason and has set goals for himself and Aaron Glenn to become a dominant pass rusher in the NFL. Now, last year, 2022 and 2021, he played primarily the nose tackle position, which isn't really known for the pass rush, right? It's known as a position to stop the run. It's known as a position to eat up double teams and to eat up blockers in order to get free rushers and free linebackers and to really play the dirty position so that every other player on your roster can be cleaner, right? Be kind of that guy that does all the dirty work so that your teammates can thrive and have free rushes. Your teammates can get one-on-one opportunities, which doesn't leave Alim McNeil with a lot on the stat sheet. Over his first 2 years, last season with the Detroit Lions, in 2022, he totaled just 1 sack, 7 quarterback hits, 6 tackles for loss, 11 pressures, but again, is playing that nose tackle position. I believe after cutting some weight, cutting some body fat, and positioning and transitioning positions, Alim McNeil can become a really good pass rusher, right? We've seen him play the 3 technique before, especially versus the New York Giants, where he looked like an absolutely elite defensive lineman. And while he's very capable of playing the nose tackle position, while he's very capable of being an interior defensive lineman, playing the nose, eating up double teams at the weight he was at, cutting down a little bit of weight, getting a little bit thinner, and kind of getting a little bit more explosive as a result could help him become a dominant pass rusher in 2023. We've seen the flashes of being that elite penetrator. We've seen flashes of being the elite pass rusher, and after cutting down weight, cutting down body fat, and solely focusing on some pass rushing ability, I think he can be a 7 to 8 sack player. I think he can be a 8 to even 9 sack player with the additions the Lions have made on the defensive line. And we've talked a lot about adding that 3 tech, right? We've talked a lot about having that interior pass rusher, and I think Alim McNeil, along with Isaiah Buggs, can be those interior pass rushers on top of Aiden Hutchinson and James Houston, giving you 3 legit pass rushing options for a team that last year wasn't very good in the pass rush, right? Speaking of last season, the Lions had just 39 sacks, despite having a very young core of James Houston and Aiden Hutchinson having relatively high amounts of success in 2022, right? As a team, they ranked 19th overall, which isn't bad, but isn't good, and they have a very young core. Aiden Hutchinson, James Houston, Josh Pascal, the Okwaras, John Kaminsky, and Charles Harris are all relatively young pass rushers that haven't been around the league very long, but have showed a lot of flashes in their young time in Detroit. So there's obviously room for improvement, right? Those guys are going to develop. Aiden Hutchinson's going to get better. James Houston is going to play a full season. Josh Pascal is going to be healthy. The Okwaras are going to be healthy. Kaminsky is probably going to be right around that 4, 5, 6 sack range, which for a rotational guy that kicks inside isn't bad numbers. And then Charles Harris is also coming back healthy, right? The pass rush should improve. And with Alim McNeil at the center of it, improving the interior pass rush, that sack number could go up astronomically from what it was in 2022. However, a lot of people aren't convinced. A lot of people aren't convinced that the pass rush is good enough. And a lot of people are on the train of adding at least one more guy to get after the quarterback in 2023. And there are 2 guys that have rumors swirling around. The first of which is going to be Leonard Floyd. In 2022 with the Los Angeles Rams, he had 9 sacks, 22 quarterback hits, and 31 quarterback pressures while playing 86% of snaps for the Los Angeles Rams defense. Now, he is a player that is entering his age 31 season, and over the last year or 2 has really come along as a pass rusher, has really gotten to the quarterback a lot more, has really become more of a premier pass rusher than what he was in his early stages with the Chicago Bears. Now, obviously, Leonard Floyd is a very good leader. I think from a characteristic standpoint, right, a character standpoint, I think he would fit what the Detroit Lions really like in veterans, right, a locker room presence, a leader on the field, and I think he would fit that mold incredibly well, which I think is why the rumors are swirling that he could potentially be in talks with Detroit to come in and add some pass rush volume. However, I really don't think the Lions are going to be looking to add too many pass rushers, right? They already have 7 on the roster with Aiden Hutchinson, James Houston, Josh Pascal, Romeo Okwara, Julian Okwara, John Kaminsky, as well as Charles Harris. And while people are going to say, oh, there's no such thing as too many pass rushers, there are such a thing as too many pass rushers, right? You can't carry 8 players into the season at just the edge position, because then you're not going to have the depth at other positions that you need to be successful in the NFL, right? Aiden Hutchinson is going to make the roster. James Houston's going to make the roster. Josh Pascal's going to make the roster. Romeo Okwara and Charles Harris, I would almost guarantee, are going to make the roster after taking a significant pay cut this offseason to stay on the team. And then, Kaminsky's going to stay. That leaves you with 6. At best case scenario, Leonard Floyd beats out Julian Okwara, who is essentially just a younger version of Leonard Floyd, right? They're both players that I think at a healthy mark can reach that 8-9 sack range. And Leonard Floyd just isn't as athletic. He's not as versatile as a playmaker. So I don't think he would beat out Julian Okwara for a starting role. And even if he does, I think at best he would be probably the 4th or 5th edge rusher in the rotation and wouldn't really be worth, I think, what he's going to sign for after having a really good season last year with the Los Angeles Rams, right? Likely they'd sign him to a 1-year deal like they do with a lot of free agents. And for a 31-year-old player coming in to be a edge rusher 5, I would just keep Julian Okwara, who's more athletic, and you can do a little bit more with scheme-wise on the defensive side of the ball. Now, taking a look at a younger player, a player that a lot of Lions fans are in favor of going out and trading for, Chase Young has been the talk of a lot of Lions fans. Now, Chase Young, of course, was the elite product from Ohio State, right? He was the elite pass rusher, taken number 2 overall, and was the player that not only won Defensive Rookie of the Year, but was talked about as the next great pass rusher in the NFL. Now, in his career, in his 3 seasons as a Washington Commander, Chase Young has 9 sacks, 13 tackles for loss, 17 quarterback hits, and 38 quarterback pressures. He hasn't been the dominant force since his rookie season. And yes, he's battled injuries. Yes, he's battled some health concerns. But in his last 12 games, Chase Young has just a sack and a half and hasn't been able to get to the quarterback. Now, the Washington Commanders just declined his 5th-year option, and I wouldn't be surprised if he was moved from the Commanders. However, based on the asking price that is projected for Chase Young, I really don't think it would be worth adding him to the roster. Now, it is projected, it is expected, and pretty much consensusly known among fans at least, that Chase Young is probably going to go somewhere for a 3rd-round pick, right? A former top 5 selection, a player that has won Defensive Rookie of the Year, and a player that, if stayed healthy, has the potential and has the ceiling to be an elite pass rusher. However, he hasn't shown that ability in the NFL, at least since his rookie season. He doesn't get to the quarterback very often anymore. He is a solid run stopper, but not worthy of a top 150 pick. And if you were to tell me what he was going to accomplish in his first 3 years as an NFL player, I don't think you'd spend a top 150 pick on him. I think if you knew a player was going to get 9 sacks across 3 years, was going to miss a significant amount of time and be just an average to below average player throughout his career, you wouldn't spend a top 150 pick on him, even knowing you get 4 years to develop him, right? In this case, if the Lions do trade a top 3rd-round pick, they're not going to get 4 years. They're going to get 1 year of Chase Young on a rookie contract, and then they're going to essentially be forced to extend him to a pretty decently sized contract because they just spent a top 150 pick. And for me, I wouldn't sacrifice the next Kirby Joseph. I wouldn't sacrifice the next Amon-Ra St. Brown, the next middle tier guy right in the top 100 to go out and get a player that has not proven he can get to the quarterback, that has not proven he can stay healthy and on the field. And for a team that just traded Jeff Okudah, a top 5 pick from the same draft class, for having the same issues as Chase Young, just at a different position, it doesn't make sense for the Lions to turn around and be like, oh, let's go trade away a young foundational piece that can't stay healthy for a young piece on the final year of his contract that hasn't stayed healthy and hasn't produced at the NFL level. Now, if it is a trade for a 5th or a 6th-round pick like Jeff Okudah, I think that it makes sense. I think that he can beat out Julian Okwara. I think he is young enough to at least still have relative ceiling and be worthy of a second contract if he performs. But if it's anything more than a 5th or a 6th-round pick, it just really isn't worth it from a value standpoint, in my opinion, to bring in Chase Young and bring in a player that is probably going to end up on IR after the first couple of games. So With that being said, that is all I have for you guys today. Let me know down in the comments below how you feel about these news and rumors. What do you think about Alim McNeil's position change? How do you feel about Jahmyr Gibbs taking special team snaps? And would you want to see the Detroit Lions add to the defensive line and potentially add to the pass rush in 2023? I'd be very curious what you guys have to say. But with all that being said, that's all I got for you guys today. If you enjoyed the content, make sure you go down below, subscribe to the channel, and like the video. Helps the channel out a ton, and make sure you hit the bell notification so you never miss an upload. But with all that being said, that's all I got for you guys today. Thank you all so very much for watching, and until next time, and as always, go Lions!